From CBS 4 News, this is Facing South Florida with Jim DeFede.
Welcome to Facing South Florida. I'm Jim DeFede, and my guest today is Jared Moskowitz, who is running for the congressional seat being vacated by Ted Deutch. This is Moskowitz's first interview since announcing, and we cover a number of topics, including whether Democrats will vote for someone who was in the DeSantis administration as the Director of Emergency Management. But we began with the simplest question of all. Why are you running?
I want to run for Congress for the same reason I got involved in politics at a young age, 25, running for the city commission. Is I want to help the community. I was exposed, obviously, to public service, very early Democratic values by my dad, who was a Democratic committeeman here in Broward County. And with democracy under attack, both abroad, at home, it feels like there is a lot of work to be done. In the wake of the shooting after Marjory Stoneman Douglas, we passed gun violence protection here in Florida, gun safety here in Florida, but we've not at the federal level. And so, there are a lot of issues that I care about: the state of Israel, obviously kitchen table issues, cost of rent, the cost of goods, the cost of gasoline. And so, this is a continuation of the public service I got involved in from a very early age.
All right, well, we'll get to a lot of those issues, but let's deal with the one issue that is somewhat may cause you trouble, which is, why should Democrats trust someone who agreed to work in the DeSantis administration? There are a lot of Democrats who think you turned your back on the Democratic Party by working for the Republican governor.
Well, first of all, Democrats should trust me because they do trust me. It's why the Florida Democratic Party supported me taking the job. It's why people like Andrew Gillum and Gwen Graham supported me taking that job. It's why countless House members and senators told me to take the job. It was the first time an elected Democrat could be in control of a state agency in the last 20 years, someone who could bring Democratic values to an agency. It's why 70 plus Democratic leaders, some of the most progressive, Carlos Guillermo Smith, Anna Eskamani, Chevron Jones, have all endorsed me. It's because they do trust me. It's the same reason why all the folks down here in Broward County and Palm Beach County who live in Century Village or Wynmore or Kings Point, who are able to get their vaccine in their community center. It's why they trust me. It's why all of the pastors of the Black churches here in Broward that were able to give their members vaccine on location at the church, it's why they trust me. And so I've proved my ability to get things done. We talk about wanting to work across the aisle on a bipartisan basis. I did that. We don't just talk about it, but I kept my Democratic values. I've been a Democrat in diapers. And so, I don't have to explain it to anybody if they look at my 15-year service record.
Well, the notion of you giving credence to the DeSantis administration by joining it, is that not a fair point of criticism for you?
Oh, well, listen, I think that there will be Democrats who will bring it up. Those will be the same Democrats who, of course, called me and needed my help because I was there. That's the whole point. I was there, Jim, to help Floridians in their greatest time of need. And if I was not there, a lot of the things that happened would not have been available to Floridians. So look, I'm not going to apologize for helping people, for saving lives. I'm not going to apologize that after watching 17 people be buried in my community after the Marjory Stoneman Douglas school shooting, why I decided to try to go help people, get a nonpartisan agency that helps people after hurricanes. I went to the Panhandle after the Category 5 storm Michael hit and took over that recovery. I helped a lot of people there, and I helped a lot of people around the state with testing and vaccine and PPE and monoclonal antibodies and all of that stuff. And I would not have been able to do that. I would not have been able to bring Democratic values to that office if I did not take that opportunity. So look, I didn't vote for the governor. I was on Andrew Gillum's transition team. But when this opportunity was presented, I thought it was an opportunity for Democrats to take control of the state agency.
You talk about wanting to bring gun reform to the Congress. Ted Deutch was a strong supporter of gun reform. That hasn't happened. What makes you think that it's likely to happen, especially with Republicans poised to take control of the House next year?
No, Jim, look, that's a fair question. I don't want to pretend that it's going to be easy, but let's be clear. The cards you're telling me I'm going to be dealt, which is a Republican House that I may have an opportunity to serve in if the voters send me there. I served in a Republican House in the state. I also had a Republican Senate. I also had a Republican governor in Rick Scott, who most people don't consider a moderate. And so I got the largest gun safety, mental health, school safety package passed in Florida history. Was it everything we wanted? No. Did we ban assault weapons? We did not. But did we make significant progress? Did we finally tell the NRA in Florida, which had been considered the gun sign state, enough is enough? Did we tell Marion Hammer, the NRA president in Florida, the former NRA president nationally, enough is enough? And you've seen that since what happened in Parkland and the Marjorie Stoneman Douglas school safety bill has passed. You've seen the NRA's power here and influence wane dramatically. So look, you can't buy a gun in the state of Florida now if you're not 21. That is such big change. There are 3-day waiting periods. We banned bump stocks. Most importantly, the red flag laws, which at the time we were one of a handful of states that passed to make sure that people who shouldn't have these weapons don't have them. We enhanced the Baker Act so that law enforcement can act on people who should not have these weapons. So this was significant change. It's the only example in the whole country where a Republican government completely controlled the whole cabinet, the governor, both the Senate and the legislature controlled by Republicans in vast numbers, passed gun control. And we all know that I led the effort on that.
Should President Biden do more to get gas and oil, gas prices down, but specifically to explore for more oil by opening up Anwar, by drilling off the coasts, by approving the Keystone Pipeline? Any of those things that you would support?
Yeah, Jim. So it's not clear that any of those immediate measures by future expiration by the president would immediately relieve the price at the pump. One of the things that's been concerning, and we have to ask the corporations what's going on here, is that as oil dropped from its highs, we've not seen gasoline drop at that same level. It goes up quickly, but then it comes down not at the same rate. Now, why is that? So I think we have to ask the corporations why that's happening. They should be in Washington. Congress should be asking those questions. I think President Biden did a good job by releasing oil from the strategic supply, but as you saw, that didn't necessarily bring gas prices down. I will say this. I will say that I do think the United States getting off foreign oil is a good thing. I mean, let's be clear with what's going on in the world. It's always been clear that the United States' dependence on foreign oil is not a good thing when it comes to homeland security and being in charge of our own destiny. So I think that I would rather have the United States rather than China and Russia exploring ways to get oil out of the ground. That's for sure.
So let's drill down on that, excuse the pun, a little bit more specifically. Would you support as a stopgap measure for the oil that's coming from Russia to replace it with oil from Venezuela?
Yeah, no, I wouldn't support that at this moment in time. I mean, with what's going on in Venezuela, I don't think we can trade one dictator for another regime that is extremely questionable. So again, I don't think that that's a fair trade. I think we got to look for alternatives.
So where would you drill then within the United States that is currently not being explored?
Well, Jim, I think I think all options have to be on the table. Obviously, the environment is a significant concern, so we got to balance that out. Obviously, I'm not privy to all the briefings and not aware of all the public lands that we might own because I don't sit on any of the committees at the moment in time. But I'd have to look at all the options. I do think we have to relieve the price at the pump, and it's not just the price at the pump, Jim. Commodities are up significantly. Food price is up significantly. In the commission district I represent, 53% of people rent in my district, right? Their rent has gone up 30, 40%. That's breaking families. So this is not just a price at the pump. It is a conglomeration of price increases in a number of areas that is squeezing the middle class. And I think Democrats need to talk more about those kitchen table issues.
I just want to be clear, when you say all options should be on the table, should we be also looking at putting oil rigs off the Florida coast?
I don't think we should be putting oil rigs off the Florida coast, but let's be clear. China is putting oil rigs off of the coast of Cuba. So, that is something that we have to be aware of, that just because we're not doing it, that foreign governments may be doing it around us.
The president in Poland and in Brussels announced that he was going to accept up to 100,000 Ukrainian refugees into the United States. Do you agree with that position?
I do agree with that position. I mean, you're talking about someone whose grandparents escaped the Holocaust. My grandmother escaped Germany, was part of the Kindertransport to England. My grandfather escaped Poland from the pogroms. He was the sole survivor. His whole family, he rarely talked about it. And they were able to come here, after World War II. And so I think that's a good decision, a great decision by President Biden. We don't want, things like the St. Louis, where people try to come here and we turn them away when they're escaping a dictator. So that is a decision that I support.
Let me take a step back for a second and talk to you a little bit more from a personal standpoint. Your father passed away a couple of months ago. This was a dream of his for you to run for Congress, was it not?
Yeah, Jim, this is something that we talked about, when I was a kid. I was fortunate. I grew up in a fortunate home. My dad was a party leader, a party advocate, an activist in the Democratic Party. I grew up as a Democrat in diapers, going to Democratic national conventions when I was a kid, going to state conventions, sitting on my dad's shoulders, waving a flag as Jesse Jackson spoke when he was running for president. I've worked in the Clinton administration as an intern. I got for Al Gore. I got to work on a presidential campaign. I was fortunate. I got to be a Barack Obama elector and go to the Electoral College and vote for the first African-American president. But yeah, this is something that, my dad and I talked about. And when Congressman Deutch called me and told me that he was retiring, I was literally like, I can't believe my dad missed it. 6 weeks. He missed it by 6 weeks, Jim.
Well, how hard is this, doing this without your dad?
It's hard. It's very hard. I mean, everybody I call, everyone, whether it's an elected official, somebody for a donation, everybody brings them up. And so, you talk about trying to get closure from losing your dad. You don't get closure every time you have to talk about him. But you know what? I'm doing this for the residents of the district. I'm doing this because Ted Deutch has been a great congressman, and we need to continue his fights on gun advocacy, on Israel. But obviously, I'm doing it for my dad.
When we come back, we turn to Surfside as I speak to State Senator Jennifer Bradley about why the legislature failed to pass any reforms to prevent tragedies like this from occurring again. Stay with us.